Good morning. A very special welcome to the octafinals of the public sector debate competition. I am Tomika Gunmighty, communication specialist here at the Transformation Implementation Unit and your host for this match this morning. Today we will continue to witness the clash of ideas and arguments as teams vie to be crowned 2026 Public Sector Debate Champions. We are delighted to have you with us and equally thrilled to welcome our online audience tuning in from near and from far in this exciting competition. The preliminary rounds concluded just under 2 weeks ago, and 32 teams battled for a place among the top 16. Today, the 16 outstanding teams who emerged from those spirited encounters return to compete in the octafinals, each hoping to secure a coveted place in the quarterfinals, which will take place on June 10th. We would like to thank the departing teams for participating in the competition, and we're sure your exit is not the end of your interest in the competition. Getting things started today, we have with us the Jamaica Customs Agency and the Accountant General's Department, and they will be debating the moot. Be it resolved that the dominance of American popular culture is in Jamaica does more harm than good. I repeat, be it resolved that the dominance of American popular culture in Jamaica does more harm than good. Before we get started, let us meet the teams. Let us ask the proposers, the Jamaica Customs Agency, to introduce themselves.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Matthew Smith Barrett.
Morning, Kingsley Henry.
Good morning, everyone. I am Anjali Baburam.
Thank you so much to the members of Team Jamaica Customs. We now turn our attention to the team from the Accountant General's Department as they introduce themselves.
Morning, everyone. Brandon Lee Fagan, first speaker.
Good morning, everyone. Ricardo Brooks.
Good morning, everyone. Tanisha Walker.
Thank you so much to our team from the Accountant General's Department. This morning we have with us our partners, the adjudicators for today's match, from the Jamaica Association for Debating and Empowerment, and we ask our judges to introduce themselves.
Good morning, Tomika. Good morning, teams. My name is Jermaine Barrett. I will be the chair adjudicator for this match. Best of luck to both teams.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kalisa Tivasa. I'll be serving as a wing adjudicator. All the best.
Morning, everybody. Kenisha Nelson, and I'll be your second wing adjudicator.
Thank you so much to our judges. Both teams are familiar with the rules. I now turn it over to the judges. All the best to both teams.
Thank you. Thank you very much again, Tomika. Hi, greetings to you both teams, and to our viewing audience, welcome. You might not be familiar with the rules, so I'll go through them quickly. Both teams having 3 debaters. The first debater will speak for 7 minutes. The second debater speaks for 6 minutes, and the third and final speaker on each team will make their presentations within 5 minutes. After the first 2 debaters have presented their speeches, we'll enter a period of cross-examination. We'll enter another period of cross-examination after the second pair of debate speeches. Thereafter, we'll pause for 1 minute, and we will thereafter resume with the reply speaker from the opposition team, that's Team Accountant General's Department, followed by the final speaker, the reply speaker from the Jamaica Customs Agency. All right, when we get to the periods of cross-examination, I'll detail more the rules pertaining to that segment. Debaters, please be mindful of the time signals. So when you've spoken for 1 minute, you'll hear the sound of a bell, and when you have 1 minute remaining in your speech, you'll hear another sound of the bell. in between those two dings, points of information are allowed. In fact, they are very much encouraged. At the end of your allotted time, you'll hear two dings of the bell, signaling that you have 15 seconds remaining. At the end of the 15 seconds grace period, we will continuously ding the bell, signaling forcefully that you must exit the stage and allow for the continuation of the debate. Teams, do you have any questions?
No.
All right, I hear no questions, so let's get this match started. Let us now invite to the lectern the first speaker from Team Jamaica Customs Agency. Hear, hear.
Let me fix up this. And ready when you are? Begin. Madam Speaker, honorable judges, worthy opponents, and members of this honorable House, today we are called upon to debate the moot. Be it resolved that the dominance of American popular culture in Jamaica does more harm than good. And Madam Speaker, my team proudly rises in support of this resolution. Today, as first speaker, I will define the motion, explain how American popular cultural dominance has been economically harmful to Jamaica, and that this dominance has negatively impacted the physical and mental health of Jamaicans. Our second speaker will expand on how American popular culture erodes Jamaican cultural identity, and that American popular culture promotes harmful social values and hyper-consumerism. Thereafter, our rebuttal speaker will expose the weaknesses and contradictions in the opposition's defense of the evidently deleterious impact of the dominance of American popular culture in Jamaica. And for this debate, we define American popular culture as the entertainment, social, and lifestyle influences primarily associated with the United States through its music, television, fast food, fashion, social media, celebrity culture, and imported values. By dominance, we refer to the disproportionate, overwhelming influence American cultural products and values have within our Jamaican society, replacing our indigenous cultural expressions, traditions, and social norms. And finally, does more harm than good means that when the overall impact is weighed, the negative impacts far outweigh whatever benefits may arise through entertainment, modernization, globalization, and international connectivity. Now, we of Team Proposition therefore define the moot before this honorable House as while American popular culture has provided entertainment, technological access, and global connectivity, its dominance in Jamaica has caused greater long-term harm by weakening Jamaican cultural identity, distorting our social values, and encouraging unhealthy consumerism, thereby reshaping the aspirations of Jamaicans away from national development towards imported ideals. Madam Speaker, this debate is not about banning American culture or pretending that no benefits exist. The debate is far more serious, and our first claim is quite simple. American popular cultural dominance has been economically harmful to Jamaica. Now, we won't argue that Americanization itself is unprofitable. Individually, people will find some success in that imitation, but we are arguing something far more dangerous, that American popular cultural dominance creates economic dependence, and that every single day Jamaicans consume American streaming platforms, fast food chains, social media content, consumer ideals, and American fashion trends. And what is the result? Capital flight, an increased balance of payments deficit, a country dependent on the American dollar to survive when it can barely earn it. Now, economically, our imports far exceed our exports, and the gap has only increased from about 110% to 460% in the last decade.
Point of information.
Accepted.
Isn't that a consequence of being a small island developing states in a globalized world? You're exaggerating harms that exist as a consequence of globalization. It's not unique to Jamaica or America.
It is not simply because we are small island developing states, because other small island developing states have found ways of protecting their culture. And what we're arguing here is that it's the cultural impact and the popular culture of America that is deleterious and economically harmful to us here in Jamaica. That deficit, as I was concluding, moved from 1.1 billion US dollars to 5.1 US billion dollars in the past 3 decades. And that money generated from Jamaica consumers overwhelmingly leaves Jamaica. OnlyFans recently alone earned over $500 million from Jamaica in 1 year. All of that benefiting American industry while killing several aspects of our local economy. Now, our opponents will argue that it's a feature of choice and that cultural imports increase options, but we contend that choice in a captured market is artificially manufactured. Algorithms are shaping our choices and robbing us of the freedom of choice.
On that point.
Madam Speaker, not accepted at this time. Madam Speaker, other countries have taken active steps towards protecting their culture from that same Americanization. Mexico protects its Dia del Muerte, the Day of the Dead. They don't accept our American Halloween. We have killed our Jean Kuno, giving up our double stories in celebration of Friday the 13th. And we now see where European countries are protecting their Easter while our children are chasing after the Easter bunny.
Will you take a point now?
Not accepted. We have killed Royal Palm Estate. We have killed Lime Tree Lane. But then we have taken on Tyler Perry movies, suffered our actors into poverty while embracing fake Jamaican acting and all the negative representations that Hollywood has presented of Jamaicans. Now, our second claim, that American popular cultural dominance has negatively impacted the physical and mental health of Jamaicans. Madam Speaker, American popular cultural dominance has not merely changed what Jamaicans watch and listen. It has changed how we eat, think, behave, and define happiness.
Point of information.
Not accepted. Honorable judges, please protect us from our worthy opponents. They are now making it excessive in asking these points of information, and we know they're not adding any value. The 2023 Jamaican Health and Lifestyle Survey revealed alarming realities. 1 in 3 Jamaicans suffer from hypertension, 1 in 2 are overweight or obese, and 1 in 8 has diabetes. It's a stark difference from 3 decades ago, prior to the rise in the dominance of American popular culture. Yes, these trends are directly linked and tied to the imported Americanized lifestyle that we have embraced, as found in a 2024 study from Georgetown University and a National Health Institute scientific journal on Jamaica's change in generational eating habits that have literally added to these non-communicable diseases. We have moved from ground provisions, fresh produce, home-cooked meals, and from locally sourced foods
On that point.
to a culture dominated by fast food, not accepted. Honorable judges, can we at least get back our time? So a culture dominated by fast food and processed meals. So what we have now is a KFC problem, a Burger King problem, a Pizza Hut, Popeyes, Church's Chicken, a fast food dependency problem. Jamaicans, when we say we feel something nice, it's no longer roast yam, pan chicken, steamed fish, or ital stew. We've killed Boston jerk and replaced it with food and drinks, American stylized cuisine. Madam Speaker, we've not only imported their entertainment, we have imported their unhealthy habits. Rising NCDs, overburdened hospitals, increased healthcare costs. We've damaged our psychological well-being. Our opponents will argue that, the deleterious effects of representation of American culture is normalized, but they are putting on the blinkers, asking us to embrace a culture that glorifies recreational drug use, gun culture, sexualization of our girls, abuse of our women through the red pill podcast, calling them fixes and toxic talks. We have to reject that. All these create an American culture being superior while creating our own Jamaican culture being inferior. And Madam Speaker, before I go, I ask you to allow us to speak in our own Jamaican dialect. The greatest tragedy of the cultural dominance is that we forget it's not foreign entertainment. The greatest tragedy is that we stop valuing ourselves, But remember, we have become globally strong because we're not stopping nobody else. Our games, our people are loved. Good afternoon. Good morning, sorry.
We thank the first speaker from the proposition team for opening this debate and now call upon the first speaker from the opposition team to do likewise from the vantage point of team Administrative General's Department. That's rather Accountant General's Department.
Mr. Speaker, honorable judges, members of the House, good day. My fellow opponent just came up and spoke about weakened identity, but I believe Jamaican culture is extremely strong and resilient. Our reggae, our language, whenever you go to America, somebody wants to know if you're Jamaican, speak patois, prove it. He also speaks about consumerism and some other factors that I'll address as I go along. So let me begin by setting this frame of debate properly to ensure we're all on the same page in this book. When we say American popular culture, we're not talking about radical politics or extremist movements. We're talking about the ideas, values, trends, and the principles that are widely consumed by mainstream American society. The culture that is communicated through entertainment, film, music, technology, and social ideals. That distinction matters because we, the opposition, will not allow this debate to be derailed by cherry-picking the worst or the most unpopular elements of American society. So, taken into extreme, yes, some aspects of American popular culture can be harmful. Consumerism can go too far, unhealthy habits can spread. But this is not unique to American popular culture, as the proposition would like you to believe. The same can be said of other cultures. The moot is not asking whether harm exists, it is asking whether American popular culture has done more harm than good to Jamaica. We say it has not. My job as first speaker is to lay the foundation of why proposition's argument that American popular culture is being more harm than a greater good is a fallacy. Our second speaker, Ricardo, will dive further into the economic advantages and give an assessment of the alternatives of American popular culture. And then our final speaker, Tanisha, will then take the arguments of this debate to show why American popular culture has not done more harm than good. So let's start off with one of America's most fundamental contributions, that is ideas. American culture has been one of the most powerful global carriers of the ideas of freedoms, individual liberty, personal dignity, and autonomy. These are not abstract concepts. They are values visible through music, television, and public narratives. Cultural platforms like MTV were not just for music, they had helped tear down cultural isolation in divided societies, like in the Cold War of Europe, where American culture inspired the tear down of Berlin Wall from a famous speech by Ronald Reagan that said, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." So, for Jamaicans, this matters a lot because even under the thumb of oppression, people must stay strong. As Kendrick Lamar says in a popular rap music, we gonna be all right. We are a post-colonial society. Ideas that normalize questioning authority and resisting injustice are empowering. American popular culture has repeatedly elevated the idea that injustice should be challenged and not accepted. My next point will be on the aspect of technology. Silicon Valley is not just an economic hub, but also a cultural one. It represents a belief in innovation, sharing information, and breaking down barriers. From that culture came communication liberalization, which includes smartphones, social media, streaming platforms, and instant global communication. I can imagine my opponents may come and speak about the harms of these technologies.
Point of information.
Evaluating everything side by side, the good outweighs the bad. Not ready for it yet. I'll have more to say on this. The impact of on Jamaican is enormous. These technologies have reduced our isolation in case of a student in Portland using YouTube and online learning platforms to study content that may be not available in their school. It is helped to connect rural and urban communities like AgriConnect Jamaica, a global initiative targeting 75,000 small farmers in Jamaica to expand rural connectivity, digital inclusion, and integration to improve access. My proposition spoke about the OnlyFans money. But I'm sure they have realized that the Jamaican recently implemented digital tax, which would then take from said money that is going to these platforms to then benefit our local economy. I will now to talk about how these technologies have strengthened ties with the diaspora.
Point of information.
Jamaican musicians can upload music to a streaming platform from his smartphone, share it on the media, and receive promotion and financial support from Jamaica.
Point of information.
Jamaica today is increasingly having the increased ability to learn, create, organize, and speak to the world without permission. Go ahead. All right,
Your speech is filled with American slang and lyrics. Do you not see that even in Jamaican debates, you're embracing an American style?
And once again, I'm saying this to show how Jamaicans have been impacted, the benefits of it. I am showing that the harm outweighs the bad. The next final point I will put on is that the US civil rights era did not stay inside American borders. It spread globally from reference points like images, speeches, and stories from that period circulated worldwide to reshape how people understood race, equality, and protest. Figures like Martin Luther King Jr. became a symbol of principled resistance. Later, Barack Obama became a symbol of what is possible in society that promotes the values of an individual over rigid hierarchy. Mr. Speaker, we can trace a line from Rosa Parks to the strings of Bob Marley's guitar.
Point of information.
When we are faced with inequality, you must get up, stand up, and fight for your rights. Thank you, members of the House. Not accepted. For Jamaicans, these narratives reinforce the legitimacy of protest, the importance of rights, and the belief that systems can change. I don't see cultural harm in that. I see political and social empowerment. When weighing things on the scale, Mr. Speaker, it is far more than just giving Jamaicans negative content or items to consume in the eyes of Team Proposition. Now let's talk about the harms, because we acknowledge them, and we will discuss ways how Jamaicans can combat them. Consumerism and material pressures that the proposition may have talked about, where this could pressure our young Jamaicans to chase brand spending habits and lifestyle that don't meet economic realities. This is mitigated through norms of prioritizing relationships over possessions and increasing financial literacy that educates the young Jamaicans to critically evaluate consumptions. The social media pressure on mental health, which can be unrealistic success standards and constant comparison, this is addressed through growing awareness and community systems. The proposition spoke about unhealthy lifestyle. But in Jamaica, this is combated through Jamaica local healthy foods, where we have the options. In Jamaican school offering physical education, and the Jamaican culture where every Sunday you can go out and see footballer play on the football ground. American culture might have its downfalls at times, but it is self-correcting. It openly critiques itself, and that capacity to question itself is exactly why it evolves and allows Jamaicans to do so for the better. Mr. Speaker, American culture is not flawless, but it helps Jamaicans' society become more connected, more informed, and inspired to challenge injustice. That is not cultural harm, that is cultural benefit. For those reasons, the opposition proudly reject this move. Thank you.
We thank the first two speakers in this debate and now move on to the first segment of cross-examination. In this first segment, the opposition team gets a chance to ask 3 questions of the proposition team. Each of those questions is limited to 10 seconds. Each response limited to 45 seconds. Team Accountant General's Department, you may now proceed with your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can the proposition point us to a single small island developing country that has advocated and implemented the kind of cultural protectionism that they're suggesting and has managed to thrive in this globalized world?
We can point to several of them. Hawaii, though a part of the United States, has been able to protect itself from the over-Americanization of its own culture by not embracing its American heritage, but holding on to its Hawaiian traditions through its hula skirts, its irrigation and agriculture, and maintaining that unique Hawaiian culture that is distinctively known to the point that it's no longer considered a part of America by many Americans. They are even treated as immigrants in their own country. We can point to countries such as Puerto Rico, another American state that holds on to its own Puerto Rican heritage and protects it through legislation that they have passed separate and apart from the federal government under the United States.
I point to the House that he has not pointed to a single sovereign country.
Thank you. Please give us a question.
The next question is cultural dynamism. What is so inherently wrong with a mixture of cultures and the evolution of culture that accepts outside influences while preserving native influences?
This debate is not about cultural exchange. Cultural exchange is good. This debate is about whether there is a dominance of American culture that has negative impact on Jamaica. That is what the debate is about. We embrace many aspects of American culture. God knows me love a KFC. God knows me love a Pizza Hut. God knows I love a Netflix movie. That's not what the debate is about. The debate is about whether there's a dominance of American culture and whether that dominance is causing harm in Jamaica. That is what the debate is about.
So then, is your burden to prove any negative effect or that American influence causes net harm to Jamaican society?
In my first opening speech, I identified the impacts of the NCDs simply from embracing American food choices and American-style dining. I pointed to the erosion in the minds of our children, where they're now embracing an antisocial behavior promoted by Americans, where we are now on the verge of fear of embracing a Jamaican school shooter system similar to what America has in America. And those things are things that we have to reject. I also pointed out that several aspects of our endemic culture, such as our theater or arts, are being eroded and putting all of our creatives into poverty unless they embrace and try to imitate an American culture. And we clearly cannot sell American to Americans. We have to keep on trying to sell Jamaica to Americans.
Thank you very much for this segment of cross-examination. We continue now with the questions coming from the proposition team to the opposition team. Team Jamaica Customs Agency, you may now pose your questions.
Do you believe the values promoted in much of American pop culture aligns with Jamaican traditional values? And if yes, why?
So, what obtains in American popular culture has not erased Jamaican traditional values. My opponents may live in an urbanized environment, and so they don't know that in much of the rural heartland of Jamaica, the things that they say have been erased are very much practiced and celebrated. What is happening is the cultural exchange they try to dismiss. They're trying to suggest to you that it doesn't exist, but it does. Ask any rural folk, and they'll tell you.
To what extent do you believe repeated exposure to American popular culture influences Jamaican attitudes toward consumerism, sexuality, violence, and social status?
I'll take sexuality as the first one, and that's clear that that has not harmed Jamaican culture in the way they suggest. Our Prime Minister stood in the Parliament and told us a man is a man, a woman is a woman. The Buggery law stands. Abortion laws have not been shaken, despite American advocacy. Again, Jamaicans are smart people. They're able to pick and choose the parts of American culture that they think are necessary for cultural exchange and reject the parts that are inherently harmful to our bedrock traditional principles. Those still stand. They have not been shaken. Next question.
Your first speaker defined American popular culture similar to our definition, but then went on to discuss American heritage and rights, issues not contained in that definition. Is team opposition redefining the mood?
Team opposition has not redefined the mood. We told you that we think a part of American culture is the ideas, the exchange of ideas, autonomy, freedom, those bedrock principles on which America was founded. And the civil rights movement came out of that. American culture, as Brandon clearly said, is unique because it has the capacity to self-criticize and self-correct where there are harms. And it has been doing that now for 250 years. Once the pendulum goes too far, it swings back. And that is why we say there is no threat. The Jamaica Customs Agency has nothing to guard in this debate. There is no threat.
I think that is it. Thank you. Thanks to both teams for that rather exciting and enthralling series of questions and answers. Well done. Teams, we continue now with the presentation coming from the proposition side. Let us make welcome the second speaker from Team Jamaica Customs Agency.
Here, here.
Jamaica's small but will culture reach far, from reggae gospel dancehall to every global star. And just to be clear before the debate expand, we're not against American culture, understand? But dominance is where the problem is sent. We hear more bro than wagwan, my friend, and less of the roots we defend. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Before I dive into the body of my argument, the first speaker's framing of the moot is incorrect. The moot is not asking if American culture has done more harm than good. It is referring to its dominance. Now, I rise in support of the proposition on today's motion that the dominance of American popular culture in Jamaica does more harm than good. American popular culture weakens Jamaican identity because it slowly replaces the everyday traditions and experiences that make us distinctly Jamaican. This is not simply about entertainment or global influence. It is about identity formation and what young Jamaicans grow up believing is normal, valuable, and worth imitating. Jamaican culture is much more than reggae and dancehall. It is Anansi stories told by grandparents, stories built on survival, cleverness, and resistance. It is the work of the Honorable Louise Bennett Coverley, who defended patois and taught Jamaicans that our language is not broken English, but a powerful symbol of identity and pride. It is childhood experiences like dandy shandy, Chinese skip and ring games, activities that build community, imagination, and real human connection. Under the dominance of American popular culture, many of these traditions have disappeared, replaced by online games such as Roblox and Minecraft, which limits the development of meaningful human connections and can negatively affect social behaviors,
Point of
thus
information.
normalizing individualism over community. Accepted?
But isn't it true that what is happening there is just that our children are now again exposed to a globalized world in which dandy shandy and Chinese kid may have no place, but the roadblocks and the thinking it encourages does?
Thank you for that question. It will be further addressed by my third speaker. Additionally, today, Jamaicans spend more time consuming TikTok trends, American influencers, Netflix shows, and Hollywood entertainment than engaging with their own cultural roots. What becomes cool is increasingly defined by American pop culture. American accent, slang, clock it, and lifestyles are seen as more modern and successful. And even patois is sometimes softened or blended with American speech patterns to appear more polished or globally acceptable. That shows something deeper. Even our language is being influenced by foreign standards of prestige. Mr. Speaker, culture does not disappear overnight. It disappears quietly when traditional games vanish from schoolyards, when patois becomes something people feel pressure to hide, and when American pop lifestyles become the default measure of success. How is it negative, you may ask, when our children no longer learn about the cunning and ingenuity of Brother and Nancy or the bravery of Tukuman? Now they are forced to embrace the laziness of Sleeping Beauty and the thievery of Goldilocks and the porridge, not to mention the sponge living in a pineapple under the sea. Accepted?
And Nancyism is not inherently Jamaican. That was an export from Africa. You're proving the point. Culture evolves and it changes, and different generations can take different parts of it and make for it their own.
Thank you for that. Even cultural treasures like coconut drops, Buster and Dukunu, small but meaningful parts of Jamaican childhood and memory, are slowly being replaced in significance by imported brands, global fast food culture, and celebrations such as Halloween and Easter egg hunting. And even traditions like Jankunu, once a living expression of resistance, storytelling, and masquerade, are now often reduced to performances rather than lived cultural practices. South Korea understood this danger, and faced with heavy American cultural influence, they did not allow their identity to be overshadowed. Instead, they actively invested in their own culture through the Hallyu wave, promoting Korean music, film, language, and storytelling until it became a global powerhouse. And that is why this mood matters, because when one culture becomes so dominant that young people lose connection to their own language, traditions, and identity, the harm clearly outweighs the good. A people who lose connection to their culture eventually lose connection to themselves. Now on to my second point. Mr. Speaker, popular culture also promotes harmful social values and hyperconsumerism, and this has real consequences in Jamaica, especially for our young people. Dominant American media constantly links success to luxury, branding, celebrity lifestyle, and visible consumption, expensive clothes, cars, lifestyles, and social media status. When this becomes the dominant cultural message, it shifts how young Jamaicans define success. So a Jamaican, whether in Kingston, Spanish Town, or Mobay, starts to measure their own worth against what they see on TikTok or Instagram, not against their education, not against their character, but against what they can show. Hence, having a beast and skating untold becomes a modern measurement for success, as American pop culture sees this as a part of the American dream. And crucially, in a small island development state like Jamaica, this creates a dangerous gap between aspiration and reality. When young people begin measuring their self-worth against this dominant American standard of success and pop culture, it can push some toward harmful shortcuts in order to keep up with that image of success. This may include risky financial decisions, get rich or die trying, overspending, debt accumulation, or even engaging in exploitative or fraudulent behaviors, in extreme cases, giving the police more work to do, driven by the belief that status and material display define their value. So the issue is not simply influence, it is the replacement of values. And when hyperconsumerism becomes the dominant cultural standard, it does not just change what people buy, it changes what they believe success and value is. Because when a society absorbs hyper-consumerist values as normal, they begin to equate worth with consumption, and character, discipline, and community contribution are pushed into the background. Honorable judges, members of the opposition, viewers in the House and online, this debate is not about rejecting American culture, but about acknowledging the harm caused by its dominance locally. When one culture becomes so dominant that it reshapes identity, values, and opportunity in another society, it is no longer exchange, it is erosion. And that is why American popular culture, in its dominance, does more harm than good. I rest my case.
Thank you. Thank you, second proposition speaker, for that very spirited presentation. At this time, I call upon the second opposition speaker to extend the case on behalf of the Accountant General's Department. Hear, hear.
Speaker, before I start, some strands of rebuttal. First, I want to point out that what the proposition is advocating is cultural protectionism, and it doesn't exist anywhere in a globalized world. If you note carefully, the only examples of small island states they could point to were satellites of the United States, not sovereign countries. And the United States, exactly the point, is a multicultural democracy. And the fact that that culture embraces different strands and allows them to exist in a 50-state construct shows that the dominance of American culture will not erase anything. Because, as Brandon said, American popular culture inherently self-corrects. When the pendulum swings one way, it corrects itself. I also want to point out the urban-rural construct that's evolving in this debate. What the proposition is talking about is urbanization, and the fact that in urban centers, yes, American culture has replaced aspects of Jamaican culture, and we don't think that's inherently a bad thing, because we say in a globalized world, culture must evolve. It must do that. And therefore, if Jamaican culture is taking on aspects of American culture, and yes, my friends, dominance in the urban centers, we don't think that's a problem, because in rural heartlands, all the things that they say they want to preserve, they are preserved and they exist. My third speaker will have more to say about it. Ladies and gentlemen, American popular culture has been one of the most potent economic forces for Jamaicans seeking alternatives to traditional means of earning a living. Their economic aspiration has been given life by the influencer culture that the proposition speaks so poorly of that arose out of the United States. The proposition would have you fear American popular culture and its dominance while ignoring the very real economic doors it has opened. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, those platforms allowed individuals in Jamaica to monetize creativity and earn independent income through ads and brand deals. And recent estimates suggest that this creative industry has a net value of more than 105 billion Jamaican dollars. No. Some creators have reported up to $500,000 a month in income by monetizing their talent on American popular social media sites. The economic multiplier effect, we say, this represents a new economic path to be explored. That's real economic value added, and that's the dominance of American popular culture. The access created by the popular culture has shattered the rigid path that local economic pathways offered. Not everyone was meant to be a doctor, a lawyer, or a public sector worker, and there is no honor and dignity in the innovation that can be had in the digital space. We say as long as the means of earning is legitimate, and it is, let me just make that clear, the good has outweighed the harm. The dominance has not affected Jamaica. So positively impactful has this influence been that a security guard at Quest, through nothing more than raw talent and American social media platforms, was able to go from guarding gates to greeting the Prime Minister of Jamaica. Bad Siki is now a staple of Jamaican online culture. And he, by the way, speaks in the dialect and speaks it proudly while using American platforms. America's platforms gave him an amplification. What it has done, no, Matthew. What it has done, ladies and gentlemen, Americans, the dominance, is to embed meritocracy and equality of opportunity as core principles in Jamaica. And this allows Jamaican youth to be limited only by their talent. What harm? What more harm has that dominance done? Meritocracy is a good thing. In a globalized world, that is where we're moving. And Jamaica should celebrate that. We stand proud. Now, it is true that there are harms, distinct harms, such as inspiring get-rich mentalities among Jamaican youth. But we suggest that on balance, that is countered by the fact that it is better for these young people to see a legitimate way out of poverty rather than be straddled by hopelessness that often characterizes their existence, or worse, believing that scamming is their only alternative. But in case you're tempted to dismiss the economics of social media influencing, let's look at the cultural longevity of Jamaican music and the fact that those platforms, that same American popular culture and its dominance has allowed crossover potential for reggae artists, Bob Marley, Chronics, and they have been able to monetize to great effect what that has done. Mr. Speaker, I now move to the influence on women's empowerment in Jamaica. It is American popular culture and its dominance that gave rise to the Me Too movement, which then spawned in Jamaica the Say Their Names campaign. And that was modeled off the dominance that we saw in America. It liberated scores of Jamaican women who were sexually abused and for years had to live under the yoke of indignity and the silence that the Jamaican culture that the proposition defends, that it imposed on women. It was American popular culture and its dominance that gave those women the access and the right to speak up. Finally, Mr. Speaker, the proposition must tell you, if not the dominance of American culture, then what? In a globalized world, there must be a cultural and economic superpower. I don't make the rules. We take no pride in saying that, but that's the reality of hegemony. So if not the dominance of American popular culture, is it Russia or China that side proposition would prefer to be more dominant? Because the truth is, we're 2.8 million people. We can't be a closed society because it's a globalized world. So if we shut ourselves in an attempt to do the cultural protectionism that they want, what we're doing is shutting ourselves from the rest of the world. And we say it is much preferable that it be America than Russia and China because they have foreign concepts of society. They have oppressive systems for media. They curtail free expression. Women in this room would be seen and not heard. My friend on the other side would be constrained to stand in this debate and disagree with men. We say that is a bad thing. And we say the dominance of American popular culture has allowed women and free expression to go free. And that's a good thing. We don't see how that dominance is doing more harm than good. And we say, reject the fear-mongering and cherry-picking of side opposition. Choose nuance.
Thank you very
American
much.
popular culture has done more good
Thank you,
than harm.
time.
For now, we rest.
We thank the second speaker from Team Opposition and now move to the second segment of cross-examination. In the second segment, the proposition team, Team Jamaica Customs Agency, gets a chance first to ask 3 questions of the opposition team. Team JCA, you may begin.
Worthy opponents, how do you countenance that it's authentic Jamaican music that sells us internationally and that the Americanized trap dancehall and hip-hop reggae is what is stuck at Norman Manley International Airport and cannot cross it?
You'll have to repeat that question for me, Matthew. Slower this time.
How do you countenance that it is the authentic Jamaican music that sells us internationally and that the Americanized trap dancehall and hip-hop reggae is what is stuck at Norman Manley International Airport and cannot cross it?
I would say to you, Matthew, that in every concept where tourists come to Jamaica, reggae is the heartbeat. In every hotel that you go, there's a reggae night in entertainment night. In Carnival, dancehall is being infused. There is no cultural erasure. The dominance of American culture has not, Matthew, done more harm than good.
My opponents, in a market that is dominated by American media and entertainment, do you believe that there is enough choices, for example, on local television for Jamaican programs? Do you think we're able to compete against what America is sending to Jamaica?
Absolutely. In fact, having had a former career in media, I can tell you that editors and content creators go out of their way to ensure that there is local programming. In fact, some of the longest running programs in local media have been locally homegrown. School Challenge Quiz, Smile Jamaica, Primetime News. Those are staples altogether seen. Those have not gone away and given way to American shows. They are staples of Jamaican culture, and they will remain so because we understand the importance of allowing that.
You spoke about the economic benefits. Is Jamaica a net exporter or a net importer of culture?
So my friend knows well, and I've been making the point, that in a globalized world, there's a give and exchange, a give and take of ideas. He knows that. And he knows well also that as a small island developing state, we do not have the economic or cultural might to resist those efforts. So he must tell you, ladies and gentlemen, whether what he wants is cultural protectionism to shut off our economy in the way that other oppressive societies have done. And if that is what he wants, he must explain to the Jamaican people how their free expression and their sense of self and their cultural identity will fare in that kind of world.
All right, so we thank both teams for this segment of cross-examination. We continue now as we make welcome the questions from the opposition team to the proposition team. Here.
Team proposition. Is your argument that Jamaica lacks the critical thinking capacity to filter global cultural responsibly?
As your own team member pointed out, his media colleagues have to go out of their way to ensure that Jamaican culture and Jamaican programs are aired on our airways. And if you have to go out of your way, you are basically arguing the point that it is significantly being eroded and erased what is Jamaican culture, and that some level of protectionism needs to be put in place. And we are not saying holistically blocking out of the American culture. We are saying that you need to go more than just out of your way, but enhance those aspects of the Jamaican culture that needs to be protected from the erasure that the dominant American culture is causing in our society.
Thank you. I want to go back to a question I asked earlier about the sovereign states, let me make it more clear, sovereign states that have done the kind of cultural protectionism that you're advocating and have fared well in this globalized world. Not Hawaii, not Puerto Rico, sovereign states.
So my speaker, I've been in many discussions with people, and if nobody else in the world has done it, doesn't mean that Jamaica should not be doing it. That is one of the things that make us unique. We're not talking about protectionism, we're talking about preserving the Jamaican culture. And you make excuses for Jamaican that we are weak people, so therefore we can't protect our culture. We don't subscribe to that.
And that is why Jamaican culture is seen as so globally accepted. But the challenge that we're having is that what you are advocating for is this wholesale acceptance and erasure and removal of that Jamaican culture, replaced by American culture, and then saying that, oh, it's because we only sit in urbanized areas that it's not affecting what we call the country areas. But it is, because even the youths in the country areas have to subscribe to watching SpongeBob on their local TV. Where are the local Jamaican programs?
I thought I answered that question, Matthew. But the final question is, if Jamaican popular culture is being dominated to the point of erasure, can you say why countries like Japan are now embracing dancehall, why they come here to study it, why we have cultural exchanges with places like Africa, why we have a Ministry of Culture charged with promoting our culture if it's being erased and destroyed in the way you suggest?
The debate is not about the Japan and Asia. What sells in Asia and in Japan with hundreds of thousands of people filling a stadium is authentic Jamaican culture. And Matthews pointed it out. When you go to America, Jamaican artists can barely fill a club up there doing the crossover music. So we're not exporting wholesale Jamaican music to America, because that's not what sells. It's the Americanization and the Americanized version. So that dilution is what we are against.
And cultural evolution occurs steadily and over time. That is what you need to take into consideration. What we are objecting is that we are losing authentic Jamaican at a rapid pace, and it is going to be economically deleterious to us if we continue to allow it in the manner that you are willingly open to accepting.
All right, well, what a debate we are witnessing here. Wow, I'm loving it. Thanks to both teams for the second segment of cross-examination. I think we're about due for a pause, so we'll take that 1 minute. We will take that 1 minute pause. And thereafter, we'll resume with the reply speaker from the opposition. And then to conclude the debate, we'll make welcome the third speaker, the reply speaker from Team Proposition. Teams, your 1 minute pause begins now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to resume. At this time, we welcome the third speaker from the opposition team representing the Accountant General's Department to conclude the opposition's case. Hear, hear.
Mr. Speaker, or adjudicators, as the third speaker of my team opposition, my job here is to very clearly show why Team Proposition has failed to prove that the dominance of American popular culture in Jamaica does more harm than good. We must do what Team Opposition says, that cherry-picking the extreme and non-popular aspects of our culture, or of their culture rather, is not what the moot is asking for today. From the start of this debate, our first speaker has already established an important point. This debate is about the negative weighed against the positive, more harm than good. Our second speaker speaks very compellingly. He shows that American media has an expansion for economic opportunities through digital entrepreneurship, bad siki, influencer culture, and access to Jamaican creativity. Our media still stands strong. Altogether things, it's still going. We still have our media standing strong. So let me first address what Team Proposition has stated. The first speaker has mentioned lifestyle diseases and that it cannot be that Jamaicans are swaying away from or yam or banana or dasheen. But yeah, lifestyle diseases are not uniquely attributed to America, when in a global sense, it's a health issue globally. Personal preference and individual decision-making in the same breath have lifestyle repercussions. We have promoted fitness, we have promoted health awareness, we have access to nutritional information through these digital platforms. The first speaker also spoke about cultural erasure. Does rural Jamaica not exist? Does the crop over stop? It does not cease to exist. We still see our Jankuno characters curtailing. As a masquerader myself, I have seen Jankuno characters engaging during carnival season. Where is the erasure? They also spoke about the consumerism in local investments such as platforms and franchises. Jamaicans have supported based on preference. The same franchise you are criticizing and bringing down, they support Jamaica in many ways. They have provided jobs. They pay taxes to the Jamaican government. They create brand deals for Jamaican creators and contribute to the Jamaican economy. Businesses are also encouraged to show avenues and explore other options to improve their businesses. They are able to reach their targeted audience. Franchises such as online shopping pave the way for delivery to the footsteps of these supporters. They create online stores. Do you remember in a traditional Jamaica where to start and own a running functional business, you needed rent space, you needed mass inventory, and you also needed location? Now we have online shopping, where a small business owner doesn't need to find a spot in New Kingston or in Half-a-Tree to be able to reach their audience. They also mention the materialism and the get-quick lifestyle. This is also not uniquely attributed to American culture. This is everywhere. Team Proposition says unrealistic lifestyle and materialism. We hear motivation, ambition to achieve, aspirations. We hear innovations, way of more proper movement and management. The clear, legitimate earning avenues to support lifestyle and improve the Jamaican way of living. Mr. Speaker, the Team Opposition has showed us that we are living in a world of fear. We have expanded our opportunities. We have seen global communication, entrepreneurship, access to information, tech advancement, and international exposure for Jamaicans. Jamaica creators thriving online, or music reaching global markets. We are even seeing Jamaicans participating in the global economy and exporting our culture to the world. You know what's very interesting? The image that the proposition has painted is that Jamaicans are passive consumers and are incapable of preserving their identity, but we reject that. Jamaicans aren't victims of globalization, we are participants. We have a history of not only consuming culture, but adapting and remixing it, essentially making it our own. We often influence the world ourselves. If not America, then who? We are one people. Out of many, we are one. And for this reason, the House firmly rejects this move. Thank you.
Indeed, we thank the third speaker, the reply speaker from Team Opposition. Now, ladies and gentlemen, to conclude our debate, let us make welcome the third speaker from the proposition team. Hear, hear.
Hear, hear.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I don't even know where to start this morning. The opposition asked, if not America, then who will colonize us culturally? If not America, we say Jamaica. That is the answer.
Cultural protectionism.
So you talk about cultural protectionism. We're not talking about cultural protectionism, we're talking about this cultural preservation. That is what we are promoting. And this idea that roadblocks replacing Jamaican game is a part of globalization. I went to UWI, and I'm sure most of you may have gone to UWI, or unfortunately across the road from UWI. But one of the things I learned about globalization, that globalization brought a lot of benefit, but we cannot ignore the harm. This debate is not about the value of American culture. And the opposition is trying to frame it as though we are against American culture. We're not against American culture. We like the Netflix, we like the Prime, we like the shopping online. We embrace that. But the fact that we embrace a popular culture doesn't mean that we can ignore the harm. And that's what we're debating today, that the dominance of that culture is doing more harm than good in Jamaica. American culture promotes women liberalization, right. But guess what? I sat there and I said, is this the same culture that has nanny? That we are claiming that Jamaican women are confident because of American pop culture? In a culture where nanny is revered, in a culture where Portia Simpson Miller and so many other strong Jamaicans, where my mother and your mother is revered, that never come. My granny Nano for St. Andrew Hill never get her resilience from American culture. That was born out of hardship, coming out of slavery and colonialism. So don't credit American for that. And that's a part of the problem we are talking about. We want to credit American and globalization and dominance for everything. The opposition, Mr. Speaker, would want us to believe that American culture offers net economic benefit. And all they can talk about 60 meeting the Prime Minister. That is their net economic benefit. They conflate, Mr. Speaker, individual success stories with systemic benefit. The structure that we see funnel revenue through global platforms. Our local GDP gains are minuscule. We are sending out billions and billions of US dollars every year, and all the opposition offers is anecdotal cases rather than showing systemically how the Jamaican economy is benefiting from this dominance. That is a net benefit. We contend that the benefit is not net because we are spending over $5 billion supporting our preference in American culture. You want to go to a wharf and see how much container being exported today? Not much. The opposition would want us to believe that cultural dominance is mutual and lead to a creative hybridity, or it is beneficial to all of us. We reject that because cultural blending requires balance exchange. Evidence show that our local artists adopt US template to gain visibility and to survive, to just get a little You know, look, I could push through the door in American landscape of entertainment culture. So the exchange is not equal. The result, as Matthew pointed out, is mimicry and dilution rather than a vigorous two-way cultural exchange. Yes, you go to Japan and your big festival, show me the big reggae festival that is happening in America at any point. The opponents pointed out this issue of Jankuno. I may never come back to it. You talk about Janku in a carnival. Me watch carnival, I'm going to see you, I'm going to see you in a Jankuno costume. Me I look, I'm going to see no Jankuno costume. It used to be the day where Jankuno was a thing. When you go in at the big pharmacy in Jamaica, what you see is Halloween costume. Can I find a Jankuno costume? You know Aged look? Yes. All right. You know Pitchy Patchy look? Yes. Oh, you know that. My daughter, your daughter and son have no clue. Exposure. So, the opposition would also want us to believe that consumers freely choose. Cultural imports increase option. But freedom of choice is meaningful only when the options are equitable. Choice is, we're in a captured market, right? And a captured market, you have platforms, you have algorithms, you have advertisers bombarding us every day. Where is the real choice? That is why choice rhetoric is insufficient to overcome the documented harms that we have pointed out. The opposition has offered no evidence, and they talk about which country is protecting. Right? You want Jankuno costume, you want Siki, and that you point to and ask about which country. Look here. This debate is an important debate for all of us as Jamaican because it's about who we are as a people. We love America. There are many Jamaicans who live in America. We want to travel to America. We want to explore. We want the American television. But what we're saying, it should not be at the cost of Jamaica's cultural identity. We are saying that the economic cost is too much. We are saying that the health cost is too much. We are saying the impact in terms of social value on our people is too much. Let us embrace the culture, but let us do enough to protect the Jamaican culture. We rest.
That, ladies and gentlemen, signals the end of this debate. We thank both teams for an exciting exchange of questions and answers and argumentation overall. And now I turn over to Tamika to bring us to a close.
Yes, yes, indeed. Very, very exciting. Give our teams another round of applause. Halloween versus Jankuno. Did our customs agents succeed at stopping the import at the gate? Or did AGD get through? They debated the moot. Beat resolved that the dominance of American popular culture in Jamaica does more harm than good. We are having this discussion in this room. Tell us in our comments, which team are you defending? Are you defending the Jamaica Customs Agency's stance or the Accountant General's stance? In the meantime, our judges will take a short break and deliberate and come back. A short break, hopefully, and come back with the winners of this matchup. Please stay tuned.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are at the point where we deliver the results and the analysis to justify the call. We just had a spirited exchange of ideas and argumentation between the Jamaica Customs Agency and the Accountant General's Department. The moot that was debated centered around whether or not the dominance of American popular culture is harmful or positive on net to Jamaica. And we think that this was a very, very entertaining and, of course, informative debate. So let us give them again another round of applause. Now, the moot as worded, we contend as a panel, presumes that there is the erasure, the decline of some elements of the Jamaican culture. It means, therefore, that on the question of culture, when team proposition contends by enumerating several instances in which the culture is dying or fading or being erased, we feel like the moot already presumes that. If something is dominating, it means that it is to the loss of something else, yes? We felt that this moot required an analysis around whether or not that diminishing of the Jamaican culture is fundamentally harmful. I want to illustrate, for instance, when the second speaker points to the decline in Jamaican games, ring-ding and so forth, those kinds of indigenous Jamaican ways of entertainment. Those are being declined and are being replaced by Americanized forms of entertainment like roadblocks. We appreciate that that is the case. We wanted to understand why is this decline particularly harmful. And we think, for example, that when the second speaker points to a line of argument where she says the decline of culture results in the decline or the loss of identity, we feel like that was her hinting at something fundamental to the burdens that team proposition has to bear in this debate. Unfortunately, taken as a whole, proposition does not go far enough to prove not just the decline of culture, but ultimately that the decline of culture is fundamentally harmful on net. Another way in which this debate was contested was on the question of economics. So team proposition contends that we're seeing the decline in economic potential. We're seeing the decline in economic, in terms of the production of media that is indigenous and local, to which proposition contends that that is not true insofar as there is still appetite for Jamaican culture and Jamaican media activities, right? And so we felt like on net, the question of the economics was at that level about equal. We feel like proposition gains a little ground when they argue that it is the vehicle of mass media and American media platforms like YouTube that facilitate the transmission of Jamaican culture. We heard about Bad Siki and so forth that typifies that line of argument. It was a sort of a liberalizing of the Jamaican creativity such that Jamaicans are now able to earn, and of course we heard that quantified to the tune of over $500 billion, right? Now, to that extent, we feel like Jamaica, having latent creative potential, now gets an opportunity to express their creativity and its culture through the dominant media platforms of the United States, like social media. That said, though, we feel like opposition does not go far enough to help us to understand that YouTube, a vehicle, a platform like YouTube, is analogous to American culture. In other words, we're unclear as to how is it that simply tapping into and utilizing YouTube is a manifestation of dominant American culture, right? And so we think that opposition needed to do more. But nevertheless, we feel like in the main, we feel like we get a fairer, better argumentation from opposition with respect to the explosion of economic activities stemming from access to American media platform, albeit we're not sure that the American media platform is in fact analogous to American culture and the dominant American culture. We very much appreciated the nuanced perspective of team opposition with respect to where is the culture dying. So team opposition contends that the culture is dying possibly, and by culture I mean Jamaican culture, is dying particularly in urban spaces. But there are vast numbers of Jamaicans who live in rural communities that still hold on to the indigenous, the local, original Jamaican culture. We don't get a strong enough contestation of that from team opposition, specifically directed to the existence of Jamaican culture within rural parts of the country. Right? Now, that said, I think opposition's argument is about not just cultural isolation, but that we live in a globalized context where culture must evolve. And it's the evolution of culture that we're witnessing, which leads at times to the diminishing of the original culture and the morphing of the original culture when combined back to American popular culture to create something new. Right? That's the sort of analysis that we get from team opposition. Opposition also tells us that it is the passage or the transmission of original ideas such as liberty and the empowerment of women that we get from American popular culture that has sort of infused itself within the Jamaican cultural context to create the powerful Jamaican woman as we have it here. The response from team proposition is, well, we always had Nanny, who is a cultural icon, and therefore that was not a necessary contribution from American popular culture. 2 points of responses in terms of how we analyze that. To point to a single example that existed originally and always within the Jamaican context does not dispute the fact that that may exist and may have led to some degree of empowerment, but American culture has certainly further advanced the empowerment of women at large. And we think we get that a bit better from opposition as well. Okay? So in the main, what are the contentions in this debate? On economics, we get the idea of the loss of economic potential within the Jamaican context based on the Jamaican culture. We feel like opposition gives us a fair amount of analysis surrounding that. What we don't get, though, is why is the loss of a Jamaican economic potential when weighed against the economic gains that are articulated by team opposition, why is that fundamentally bad at its core? Secondly, we get ideas surrounding liberty and the empowerment of women and the economic liberalization of the Jamaican society, which leads to economic benefits quantified by over $500 billion worth of sort of economic gain for Jamaica, to which we get a response from team proposition that says, well, we are losing in terms of the export, or rather we're importing more of American cultural artifacts and items more so than we're exporting to the world. We feel like that was a fair challenge, but albeit we feel like it was a challenge that needed more sort of explanation as to why it is that the gain are ultimately being outweighed by the losses ultimately. Okay? And then finally, the question of the liberty and the freedoms that are had within the Jamaican context was a subtle jab at Jamaican culture as not delivering these particular values. Ultimately, we feel like we get those values more from the American cultural context because of its liberalizing capacities. Now, finally, ladies and gentlemen, the question of globalization was material in this debate. Does globalization force a small island developing state necessarily to be impacted by other cultures? We feel like that is in fact the case insofar as, being small limits you to one of two realities to avoid that kind of cultural domination by a cultural superpower such as the United States. Either you're going to become sort of isolationist in terms of limiting yourself from accessing other kinds of cultural infusions, or you are going to choose to be impacted by other forms of dominant cultures like China, like Russia, right? In either world, team opposition contends that that is particularly harmful to values such as liberties, the free transmission of ideas, and the democracy overall. So ladies and gentlemen, in the final analysis, the scores are as follows. 269 points as compared to 271 points, 81. 281 points. So 269 compared to 281. The winners of this match in the octafinal round of the public sector debate competition for 2026, they are the Accountant General's Department. So again, while we congratulate the Accountant General's Department on winning this match, we think it was a valiant effort on the part of the Jamaica Customs Agency. So a round of applause is in fact appropriate for them. The best debater comes to us as well from the winning team, and that is the second opposition speaker. I think my panel would want for me to also announce a commendable debater, and that would come from the proposition team. That would be the first speaker on team proposition. Very well done. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that's how the cookie crumbles. Stay tuned. We'll be back with you shortly for another match in this octafinal round of the public sector debate competition for 2026. Thank you.